This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Prime Spark, the podcast that brings you conversations that inspire, celebrate, and empower women over 55. The second women's revolution is here, and it is time for us to fuel a spark that will ignite your way forward, illuminate your path, and reflect your gifts in the world. Now, here is your host for Prime Spark, Sarah Hart.
Hi, and welcome to Prime Spark. I'm Sarah Hart, and I'm so happy you're here with us. Prime Spark is designed for women over 55 or close, with a goal to help us all live our happiest, most fulfilling, and productive lives, now and in the future. The mission of Prime Spark is to change the way our society sees and treats older women. It's a big mission, which only means we all need to be involved and we need to get started now. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Stephanie Odell, a woman whose work I greatly admire. Stephanie Odell, founder of Celebrate the Gray, is passionate about making women visible as they age. She is changing the face of aging for the 50-plus woman. She has been styling and helping women discover their fashion sense for the last 10 years, working as a stylist for Athleta and Stitch Fix. As a woman in her 50s, she knows it's challenging to look modern, chic, and comfortable. She is about styling, inspiring, and helping you learn how to embrace your shape and modernize your style. Her grandmother, who lived to be 94, was a fashion maven and had the kind of wardrobe a girl dreams of. Lots of sparkle, fur, flash, and most of all, personality. She lived during a time when women dressed: hats, bags, shoes, jewelry. Stephanie learned from her to have fun with your fashion. Wear color, lots of it. After 10 years of styling with Athleta and Stitch Fix, Stephanie Odell began a blog called Celebrate the Gray. Based on the thousands of women aged 50 plus she spoke with, she realized the visuals and stories women were given as they age are messages of anti-aging rather than pro-aging. She knew something had to change, and that the age of models advertisers were using needed to be updated. Stephanie founded Celebrate the Gray, a full-service agency for and about the 50-plus woman. She represents over 70 gray-haired models and works with companies to use real faces and authentic stories of positive aging. Stephanie has been a speaker at many places and has been interviewed on numerous podcasts and featured in the local and national press. Stephanie hosts a bi-monthly speaking series, How She Revels, for Revel, and is a featured podcast contributor for Brand 50, brand50.com. Welcome, Stephanie. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Wow. It's so interesting to hear that all said at once about you. It's like, oh, wow. You know, we focus so much on the things we haven't done yet, but to hear like, oh, I have done quite a bit. Okay, I should be patting myself on the back.
It's always a surprise, isn't it?
It's always so nice to hear. It's like,
I think we all need to have every once in a while, someone read our bio to us so that we can go, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good exercise. Like even, I think writing that for yourself and just reading it every so often when you get into those valleys that you feel like, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? Like, I'm going to read that again and say, okay, just keep on it. Keep going.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Stephanie, can you tell us any more about why you've chosen to work with women 50 plus? There was a lot in your bio, but anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I always say it's selfish. I'm 59 now, and I remember meeting a woman in her 70s when I was out hiking. And she said, I have to tell my group I'm in my 50s because if they know I'm in my 70s, they'll put limitations on what I can do. And I had one of these aha moments, like, she should be on an REI ad. Like, this is the woman I want to be when I'm in my 70s. And, we're just, so it's selfish because I want to be represented when I'm 70, 80, 90. My grandmother lived to 94, like you said. My mother's 90 and still has a tractor and gardens 6 acres of garden. And so, I have these inspiring women, but I want other women to have those examples of the possibility of aging. And so I focused on 50 because there's such huge transitions that happen in our 50s. Menopause, children leaving, relationship changes, job changes, that there's this time of I'm going to settle into who I've been, or it's this amazing opportunity to evolve into who you can be.
Yes.
So that was why I really focused. And a lot of my older clients were just saying, I feel invisible. The fashion industry's forgotten me. So I really set out to start a fashion line through the blog. I thought, okay, I'll figure out how to start a fashion line, find a designer. And really what I found were these amazing women that I wanted to see in advertising.
I think it's wonderful to think of giving girls, younger girls and younger women, good role models, just like happened for you on that hike. I mean, and your mother and your grandmother. I mean, my mother mowed the yard at the home where I grew up until she was 96.
Yeah.
That's what I have in my mind. That's what you do. But a lot of little girls don't have that in their mind. Right. And so I think it's really important to provide good role models.
And I think a lot of women have in their head, at 50, I can't wear this. I can't do this at 70. I mean, the women I've talked to that want to start businesses, but their friends say, oh, you're retired. Like, why can't you just be retired? So you can't be what you don't see. So without those visuals and narratives to inspire you to think about aging differently, it's really hard if, like you and I, they don't have role models in their lives. Right. I think the other side of it for me was to show my daughter and my son that aging don't dictate someone's ability based on their age. I mean, how often, and you probably never did it, and you probably thought your mother could never do anything. Like, I think my mother's possible of anything. I never think in my head, oh, she shouldn't do that, she'll hurt herself, where we put that on people so often as they age, with the gray hair, with the body changes. You look so old, you should dye your hair. So all these perceptions we place on people based on the stories we have in our heads.
I think that's one of the fun things, actually, of not very many fun things, but one of the fun things that came out of the pandemic. I don't know how many women I know stopped dyeing their hair because they couldn't get to a beauty salon. And I think they look so much better.
Yeah.
Just natural. I don't know how they feel, but they've stayed gray. So they could go dye again. So. Right.
And a lot of people feel like they're back to their authentic self.
Yes.
That they've lived by someone else's standards for so long, and we buy into the age denial messaging that we're given around. And, I have some gray hair, I'm going gray, but mine is more body and my shape, and it's changed. I'm not as, I've been a runner all my life. I'm not as fit as I was. It's buying into whatever your aging narrative is in your head. So when I say celebrate the gray, it may not be gray hair. It may be wrinkles. It may be your body's changed. It may be your life has changed. It's just really changing the words in your head into positive words. Like I was talking to a friend that was retiring from where she was at, and she'd been there for 12 years. And she said, it's such a scary time for me. And I went, oh my God, it's so exciting. It's such an exciting time. You can do anything you want. And all this experience and wisdom you bring to your next job or your next whatever you do. So I think, again, a new narrative, a new movie, a new story in our heads really is helpful to embrace aging differently.
So it's really celebrate the gray. It's really celebrate your life.
Yeah.
At this point in your life, celebrate where you are.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't know about this, but I would assume that with the work you do, you have faced some hurdles along the way. Have you? Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, well, the first hurdle for sure was self-doubt in opening a modeling agency. I didn't have any experience and I wanted to find somebody else that would do that. So I tried to partner with a modeling agency and couldn't find anybody. They'd say, oh, we represent the gray haired model. We have 2 models that are gray, and oh, they're 6'4" and they're 6 foot and they're beautiful and skinny and don't really resonate with the real woman. So took me a couple of years to kind of say, okay, I've just got to do this because there's nobody else doing it and I'll figure it out and I'll ask for help. So that was definitely a hurdle personally in building the brand. And the other hurdle is the buy-in from brands. Somebody will say, oh yeah, you tell them the story, you tell them what I'm doing, what we're doing, who we represent. Oh my God, that's fantastic. And it's so needed. Great. Well, let's hire some of our models and let's talk about a campaign. Oh, well, we don't want to upset our core customer and go away from our core customer and, not realizing the spending power and not willing to buy in. So it really is the small brands that are stepping up and being thought leaders and making change. And hopefully larger brands will start paying attention. So that is definitely a hurdle. It's as I say, a slow burn. A conversation I had a year ago, now maybe somebody will say, okay, we're ready to take the plunge. We're ready to really represent her authentically. But even brands that we're working with, they still are, the bottom line hasn't changed. We're not seeing the traction we wanted. And I think you and I have talked about this. It's not a one and done. It's a year commitment to doing social media, looking at your product, looking at your catalogs, looking at all aspects of how you're marketing to her and understanding her. That really takes deeper buy-in, and brands aren't quite there. Getting there, closer. And there's a lot of people trying to make change, and it's going to take all of us to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that you and I also have talked about this, but I think that the time is coming.
Yeah.
I think there's no question, but all of this for older women is on the horizon, and it's coming. And smart companies, smart brands will get out there in front of it and be ahead of the curve, because there's no question but what is going to happen.
Yeah. And, we also talked about, and I always say this to women that complain, it's like, it's our responsibility to be out there, be vocal, be visible, talk about how old we are, what we're doing. It's also where we spend our dollars. Like the brands that are doing it well, spend your dollars there. Talk about those brands, share those brands. And that is our spending power is undervalued, underrepresented, underrespected, not respected as it should be. So our dollars will speak volumes to those brands that are doing a good job at it.
And withholding our dollars from the brands who aren't doing it will also speak volumes. Mm-hmm. So long as they know why we're not buying things that are advertised only by 20-something young
right.
women in size 2 or 0.
Yeah. I mean, the power, we're doing a campaign right now with SwimSpot, and the power of seeing a woman that's curvy, that's in her 70s, that's in her 60s, that's in her 50s, for other women to see, oh, that's what I don't have to hide at the pool. I don't have to hide at the beach. Like, I am beautiful still. I am sexy still. But sometimes without seeing those visuals, it's really hard to imagine that you can be that again. And we're told so often that of all the things we can't be. So to all of a sudden see, oh, this is what I can be, opens up a whole new world for women of possibility.
That's just such a fascinating image to think of. A woman in her 70s, 80s, 90s at the beach in a swimsuit. She can be beautiful. She's not going to look 20.
Right.
And the amount that we're working against to change that perception that there is beauty in a lovely 90-year-old woman's body in a bathing suit, even though it doesn't look like a woman who's 20.
Right.
That's a big hurdle.
It is a big hurdle, but the more we see it, the more normalized it begins. Think
Yes.
about the plus size, how that's really changed over the last few years.
Yes.
That it becomes more normalized. And then to talk about, we were doing the swim campaign, and I was talking with the CMO of the company, and they chose me to be one of the models because they wanted to highlight Celebrate the Gray. And it was really hard for me to see myself in a bathing suit, because I have been an athlete all my life. And then we started talking about all that my body's done. I've had 2 kids. I've run marathons. I'm still powerful and strong. And when you start to kind of take ownership of where your body's at now and what it's doing now and what it's done, you start to think about it differently and not hang on so much to, well, it doesn't look like it did when I was 20 or 30. Well, no, you've done a lot.
Look what it's been through.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of like, it's almost like, I wonder how there could be a bio of your body so that when you look at that, you have the same feeling that you had when you heard me read your bio.
Yeah.
Something that shows everything that your body has been through and done and is magnificent now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, it's all your self story. So it's been interesting to see other people's comments and to work with the company, because you start to see the positives of your body. And again, it goes back to what we were talking. You also mentioned in my bio, the dressing, we start to dress to disappear. So we dress in tans and blacks and grays. Sad colors versus, happy colors of, I say walking out on a spring day versus a winter day, which gives you more joy.
Right.
And, I love you wear red glasses and you wear red, and that we are afraid to draw attention back to ourselves. But when we start doing that and we get this positive feedback, all of a sudden we start embracing it and are comfortable about it. And it becomes this catalyst for positive change in our life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be very sad if I thought I couldn't wear my red.
You look fantastic in it. You should definitely keep wearing it. I always, I still do styling. I don't do as much as I used to, but one of my first things, if someone's uncomfortable with color, I always say, go buy a red tennis shoe and start there. Just see what happens. And they'll be like, oh my God, my friend was like, I love your shoes. And it's little changes make big changes.
Yes. So you must in your work have had lots of satisfactions along the way. Does anything in particular stand out when you think about it?
Many. I mean, I still pinch myself and can't believe the work I'm doing. Like, I never imagined I would be doing this. I always felt like there was something big for me to do. I never knew what it was. And I did the hard work and the small work that got me to this point. I just got this really interesting DM from a woman on Instagram, and she had seen a Instagram live that I did. And she said, I just want to thank you for the work you're doing. You're making changes for generations to come. And I just went, wow, that is like me. I'm so excited to be part of the conversation. I'm excited that I'm letting women think differently about themselves. I started thinking differently about myself in my late 40s, when my kids were older in school and didn't need me quite so much. And I had that moment of, I don't know what I'm even passionate about anymore. Where do I know I want to do something. I don't know what it is. And I didn't even know how to get started. So to know that I'm now 10 years into that journey and feel like I'm inspiring other women is really powerful for me. And then just being part of some photo shoots where I see these 20 and 30-year-olds meeting these 70-year-olds and looking at aging differently. And I know in that moment, we're rewriting age models, and that slow little interaction, the next job they're at, or the next interaction with somebody, they will look at that person differently because of the experience they've had with that 70-year-old that's so powerful. Some of the times I've met with people and they're like, I'm going to call my mom because you're right. I haven't appreciated her for her power in her aging versus I look at the limitations of her aging and what she can't do. But now I really want to celebrate her of what she can do and is doing. So
I just get goosebumps when you talk about all that. I mean, there's what's better than that? I mean, what's better than that? I don't know what's better than that. Maybe chocolate, but other than chocolate,
it's become a much bigger thing than I imagined. And I always said, even if just because I started by this blog and I started by going up to women I didn't know and just saying, can I talk, and it was, if they had gray hair, your hair is beautiful. Can I talk to you for a minute and just talk about your aging story? And the grain of all of it is even if all I do is make that woman be seen for a day and she thinks about herself differently, that I feel like I'm doing something really great in the world. So it's grown into something much bigger than I ever imagined. So I think when you find your power path and you find what you truly lights you up, it's amazing the things that can happen from that.
I agree 100%. And for me, that's the spark in the prime of our lives. And it's there and we all can discover it. If we don't already know it, we can discover it. So what do you hear from older women, colleagues or clients about their experiences of living in the world as an older woman?
It's mixed. The women I interviewed were very powerful in their aging and didn't really buy into society's messaging. But then the other thing I hear is this: you've given me possibility, you've given me permission to think about aging differently. So the collaborations that I'm doing with you and different thought leaders around in the 50 plus demographic, I think it just takes a bunch of us, all of us, to continue talking and allowing women to hear the stories. It's everything from I let my hair go gray and I'm my authentic self for the first time in 20 years, to I can't let my hair go gray because my mom and my daughter both tell me I look too old and I need to dye my hair. So wherever you are on that spectrum, it's I think that we're offering resources and conversations to allow somebody to start thinking differently.
I think that's true. And I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
And from feedback you've gotten, it sounds like it. So
yeah,
good for you, Stephanie. I mean, it's such important work.
Well, that I had recently did a podcast and I think I got 60 new women reaching out saying, I want to be part of what you're doing. I'm not great yet, but how can I help you? So, there is this need and desire and want to be seen. And so I'm glad that Celebrate the Gray can help facilitate that a bit.
Yes.
And Prime Spark's doing the same thing.
Yes.
We're being seen, we're being heard. And don't be afraid to stand up and say, I want to be seen, I want to be heard.
Right.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, do you experience getting older? And if you do, how? And if you don't, why not?
Oh, totally. I experienced getting older. I experienced getting older looking at my kids who are now 24 and 21. And I think, how the heck are you that old? I can't, we were looking at little pictures of them when they were little. And I'm like, oh my God, where's the time gone? So, my body's changed. I have those forgetful moments but I feel more powerful and more in my self than I felt in a long time. So definitely, my mom is 90, my dad is 89. And I think about the world, how it will change when they're not around. But I also feel like I've taken back the power of my aging. And it feels really good to be able to be fit and strong and healthy. And so I feel better than I did 20 years ago, to be honest.
It's, I have talked to a lot of women, and I've interviewed many women over 50 or 55. And I won't say 100% because nothing in human behavior probably is 100%, but 90% of the women will say exactly that they experience getting older from their bodies. There's aches and pains and they can't do quite the same things and that kind of thing. And their children are now, a lot of them having their own children and so on. And then they will say, but for myself, I feel better. I feel better than I have. I feel more myself. I feel more of who I really am. I'm more me. I'm excited to be able to do some things I've always wanted to do. And that's such a common reaction. And yet, when I ask women, they will admit to being really frightened about getting older, of being invisible, of being not cared about, not so much not cared for, although that's true, but just cared about, being irrelevant. And so it's a sad and interesting clash of I feel more of who I'm really meant to be, and I'm afraid I'm going to be invisible. And I think that's what we're addressing.
Right. I think this time, right where we're at now, is the opportunity to be visible has never been greater. There's so many avenues to make yourself visible. You have to put yourself out there and you have to take some risk for sure. But the feedback and the collaboration that I've gotten and the support has been unbelievable. I went from being a competitive 30-year-old 20 years ago to a collaborative 50-year-old. And the power of the collaboration as we age to make change for ourselves and for others is something I never really thought I would realize. So I had a woman reach out to me and want to do an article about competition. And I'm like, I don't feel competitive with anybody. I really support everybody that's trying to do what they want to do. Like to talk to somebody that's found what they want to do. If I can support them and I can help in some way, I want to do that, because by helping each other, we're helping all those other women that are sitting on the sidelines trying to figure out, do I fit? Am I still relevant? Is there something I can do? And by hearing the story, not just looking at someone's end journey and realizing, oh, she's like me. She didn't know what she wanted to do in her 50s. And then she took a risk. She took a part-time job. She started working. She realized she was good at this. And I think that's what we're about. I think that there's never been a better opportunity for women to take back the power in their aging than right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
And to counter those images that we keep getting presented with, that women are so competitive. They're just, they're backbiting, they're nasty. And that's not my experience as I've gotten older. I mean, exactly what you were saying. It's not my experience. We're all in this together, and none of us does it alone. And so,
and maybe it's our own perception, right? Maybe it's, I always say to my kids, you get what you give. So maybe as we age, we have this confidence if we allow ourselves to the permission to age with power versus buying into the age denial messaging. And maybe because we have this confidence and more power back, we want to give that to other women. So we don't hold on to it quite so tightly, if that makes sense.
Makes absolute sense. I can't remember what I was reading, but it talked about that that we're not, this language was, we're not so involved with our ego and trying to get ahead and go, the next step on the ladder and that was all true maybe for most of us or some of us at some point in our lives. But at some point that sort of drops away. That's not what we're about.
Yeah.
So what dreams do you still have, Stephanie, that you haven't realized yet?
Well, having Gap or a big brand, Target or someone call and say, hey, we need to talk to you. Like, that'll be, having that 70-year-old that I met on the top of the mountain in an REI ad, That is still a dream. I have another model that's a tennis player in her 70s, and I want to see her in an intergenerational ad in Athleta. So 5 years ago when I started this, I have these images and these visions of these women in particular campaigns. So when that happens, I'll be very satisfied. And, just to continue to be healthy and strong and happy and inspiring women. I feel that I'm living in my dream right now. And I, like I said, I couldn't have imagined this where I'm at right now. And I'm so proud of myself and proud of the connections and the collaborations that have helped get me here. I mean, I definitely haven't gotten here by myself. I have a lot of support from my family and a lot of support from all these women that have reached out, and feel really fortunate to been able to meet these amazing women and be inspired.
I have no doubt that not too long in the future, we're going to see, if not that 70-year-old in REI's catalog, some 70-year-old in REI's catalog.
And then it just becomes,
thanks to Stephanie Odell.
Oh, that'd be great. I don't need the credit, but to think that we could start normalizing that and seeing that, and you wouldn't go, oh, well, she's an interesting older woman. I wonder who she is. Like, well, of course she's included. Like, why wouldn't she be included? She's an important person in society and has got value and experience and wisdom that other people want to know about.
That's really interesting. Just sort of as a final thought, I'd never thought of this before, but this may certainly highlight a bias on my part, so I'll own it if it does. But when I see really interesting older women in pictures, in ads or whatever, every once in a while, I am very curious about them.
Right.
And I'm not curious about beautiful young women. She's beautiful. I'm not curious about her.
Yeah.
That's interesting difference.
Yeah, it is. And when I first started this, healthy older people are unicorns. I'm like, no, they're not unicorns. And we're living longer and healthier, and the age models don't reflect that. A 90-year-old today is not unique. A 90-year-old that's fit and healthy and is not unique. So the age models just haven't caught up with how we're living our lives. Right. So one of the things the Swim Spot campaign we're doing is interesting, because each 2 weeks they're highlighting a model and they're actually telling her story. Who is she? What does she do?
Oh, that's neat.
So it's really interesting for the consumer to see and be inspired by her, and not just, like you say, see this face and wonder who she is and what she's about.
That's great. I like that. That's really good. Because that does sort of two things at once. And that is, that's really good. So Stephanie, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and find out more about what you're doing, how can they do that?
So we're Celebrate the Gray with an A, and www.celebratetheGray.com. Also on Instagram @Celebrate the Gray, on Facebook, Celebrate the Gray. And you can reach me via any of those directly, and I'm happy to talk if someone's interested in modeling, with only 3 requirements for modeling: over 50, gray or going gray, and doesn't believe in plastic surgery or moving down that avenue. And people have said, well, I don't have gray hair, but I really want to be part of what you're doing. And hopefully at some point I'll include more than just gray hair, but gray hair is really the most powerful thing that happens for women. First thing that we start getting shamed about as we age. So I feel like if we can normalize gray hair and make it just another color, that we'll start really moving the needle on aging and being more age inclusive in marketing and media. So that's how I'm happy to hear and talk to anybody. I love connecting with people.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's our time today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. And thank you for all the work you're doing. It's always fun to talk about and see what's happening with Prime Spark. So
yes, thank you. So thank you all for joining us today. Please join us again. You can find out Prime Spark podcast on most podcast outlets, and you can find out more about Prime Spark at www.primespark.com. Thank you again to my guest, Stephanie Odell. And don't forget, you can find her many different places. One of those is www.celebratetheGray.com. I encourage you to go there and have a look. It's really fun. I have had such fun several times going through that website. Really, truly. So thank you all for being with us. Take care. Spread tolerance and love. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Prime Spark. With each episode, Sarah Hart brings you conversations that inspire, celebrate, and empower women over 55. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes about remarkable, experienced women, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com. This podcast is also available at Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. The second women's revolution is here, and we hope that you use the insights you've gained here to fuel the spark that will ignite your way forward, illuminate your path, and reflect your gifts in the world.
Have you ever asked yourself this question? Why is it so hard to make a buck? I know I have. Hi, I'm Sandra Yancey, founder and CEO of eWomen Network. What I have discovered after going from the brink of bankruptcy to running a multi-million-dollar award-winning business is this. You can't build $1 million dream hanging around minimum wage mindsets. My mission is 1 million women entrepreneurs generating $1 million in annual revenue. So here's what I've done. I've created the mother of all entrepreneur success programs that you can access online on your time. It's called Monetize Me Now. It's a 7-module online course that is 100% my success formula, covering mindset, mission, management, motivation, marketing, and measure. Come on, take my hand and I'll show you the way to learn to earn flowing revenue for your business. Visit monetizemenow.com for details. Calling all speakers, eWomen Network has speaking engagements all over North America that must be filled. Are you a gifted messenger, author, expert, or successful entrepreneur that can help women entrepreneurs grow their businesses? Our mission is to help 1 million fulfilled women each achieve $1 million in annual revenue. If you're a speaker that can help women prosper, go to eWomenNetwork.com and sign up as a pro member of our Speakers Network. That's eWomenNetwork.com. Thanks for listening. This is the EWN Podcast Network.